Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
Hey, I'm one of your co-hosts, and we are now a weekly podcast. I'm Casey Kelderman.
It's true, and I'm Sam.
And let's get
screaming.
As you can see, if you're tuning in, thank you for tuning in. We're gonna let people filter in on this episode. This is gonna be a fun one to do. As we do with all these, we record these live to Facebook and YouTube, so everyone can kind of join in on the chat as we're recording, and then of course we drop these on Fridays as well. Yeah. So people who are tuning in live, Facebook and YouTube at Screams from the Basement, that's where you can find us. We're pretty easy to find. Please leave comments as you're commenting along. And for those people who are watching us right now, you can see we're getting a little spooky on this episode.
Getting real spooky.
We're getting real spooky. Sam, why are we getting real spooky wooky on this episode?
Because I wanted minimal prep work on this episode.
Well, that's
no.
This is also an episode we've had planned literally for a year now to eventually do.
Yeah. Casey and I like real life supernatural spooky stuff.
Yeah.
And we both have experiences in those realms, to varying degrees. And we actually had one together that I'm sure we'll talk about later on this episode. But we just kind of wanted to go through our paranormal encounters and see what other people had as far as paranormal encounters go. So if you're listening and you want to drop some paranormal encounters, especially in the back half of the show when we're sharing ours, we'd love to read some on air. So yeah, we're getting like spooky for real, yo.
I don't know, how do you make an R? For real.
Yo.
Real. I think it's actually just like,
yeah, isn't it? This is R in sign language.
For
real, yo.
So yeah, if you are tuning in, we'll keep bringing it up throughout the show, especially as we get closer to telling our own ghost stories on this episode. Please leave a couple comments on your real life paranormal encounters, your real life ghost adventures, as the great Zach Bagans would say. Please comment along with us. Yeah, this is going to be a fun episode. I think we're doing it kind of during this Christmas season because a long lost tradition of Christmas is telling scary ghost stories. I mean, it's a line in a very, very famous Christmas song. So let's bring that tradition back. And why not start right here by telling our own spooky ghost stories?
Well, I mean, I'd even argue that one of the most famous ghost stories ever and one of the most famous Christmas stories ever are one and the same. Yeah. A Christmas Carol. Christmas has always been about ghosts. Always. Charles Dickens made it so.
Santa is a supernatural entity. Like, I don't know what we're trying to do here. What are we trying to teach our kids?
Santa's a ghost.
He's a ghost. He's something. I don't know if he's a ghost.
He's a ghost.
He's something. He's paranormal.
He's vapors.
I mean, that's the only way that fat guy is getting down the chimney.
Right?
So you're right there.
He's too big.
He's at least part ghost, part spirit.
Yeah.
He's some sort of spirit. That's for sure. I guess maybe we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about distinction between ghost and spirit.
Yeah.
We're going to get real philosophical on this episode. Is there a difference? I don't know.
I think it's all just we'll get into it.
We'll get into it later.
We'll talk about the crock pot that is the afterlife later.
Yes, we're gonna get real weird with this episode. All right, Sam, what's first on the docket before we get to our own spooky ghost stories? Do we have any screaming mad news to talk about?
Not in the show notes, but the Godzilla X-Con trailer dropped. Have you watched it yet? I know you saw the new Godzilla -1. I know you said you maybe wanted to put some distance between that viewing experience and this trailer, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I have not watched this yet.
Okay. Have you seen any of the GIFs and things that are going around?
I've seen nothing. I've seen like he has like purple or pink scales.
He glows up pink now.
Yeah.
He took Barbenheimer very seriously.
That's literally all I've seen on this is the glowing pink scales on
Have you
Godzilla.
seen
That's it.
the team up gif of them both running together?
That's not real.
It is. It's what they end their big movie. It's what they end the trailer on is like Godzilla bursts from the ground and starts running, and then Kong runs up behind him and joins him with his freaking robot arm and his like battle axe. It's nuts, dude.
Okay. I might wait a little longer to watch this trailer then.
So,
Yeah, because I'll talk about Godzilla -1 when we get to our recent watches. But you
yeah,
watch this trailer.
yeah.
What's your thoughts going in
Um,
with two very different perspectives on this?
okay, so on one hand, I get why people would look at this trailer and be like, especially with a movie like Godzilla -1, which I have not gotten to yet, hoping to this week, time willing.
I was gonna say, you better hurry.
I know, because it's literally I like tomorrow's the last day I'll be able to see it, so we'll see. um yeah, like I mean, I've seen the trailer, I've heard the reviews, like I know that Godzilla -1 is very like it's a reverent movie. That's very much in the vein of the like classic original Godzilla, which is a very somber affair. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire looks like none of that. It is a big, fun monster popcorn movie. And I think these movies have two very different targets that they're trying to hit. I think both types of movies can exist in the same space.
Mhm.
And one isn't necessarily, well, one is necessarily better
One
than the other.
one
But
is
like,
definitely better than the other.
but like, I know
But
what target Wingard's gonna
yeah.
hit, and like to me, this looks like a lot of fun. It looks goofy as hell. Like, I mean, Kong's literally got like a cybernetic arm at one point in this trailer. Like, it's weird. But I'm also kind of digging it. I love the lighting in this trailer. Like, it's goofy, bright cartoon colors. Like I said, like I mean, Godzilla glows pink in this. It's incredible. Um, it looks like the big bad of this is just going to be like a giant orangutan, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. I like big monkeys. It's like one of my favorite genre of movies, and so like I've always been a Kong person. Like in the Godzilla Kong thing, like I love Godzilla, but Kong is my guy, and so I don't know. It was cool. In Godzilla versus Kong, we got to see them fight each other and then fight Mecha Godzilla. Well, now it's like Godzilla is helping Kong with his orangutan guy. And so I'm like, whatever, sure. Like another monkey. Yeah. So I'm just, yeah. Is this movie going to be dumb? Yes. Am I probably going to like not remember a single human character in it? Also, yes. Am I going to have fun watching it? Probably. So,
yeah, I feel like, okay, so we'll talk about, is this the only news piece we have?
yeah, that was the only thing I could think of. And I literally like I looked over at Screaming Mad News and I'm like, "Oh, but there was the trailer. I kind of want to talk about that." So
I'll use this to segue into our recent watches, what we're doobie doing.
What you've been doobie doing? Yeah.
If that's okay. Because
absolutely.
I'll talk about Godzilla -1 then, because this trailer dropped, I believe, Monday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, yep.
So it dropped on Monday. Godzilla -1 was in theaters this past weekend, opened like a preview night Wednesday, but full wide release Thursday.
Yep.
It's odd that they wouldn't play this trailer before Godzilla -1.
Just to keep
like it is weird because like we went to Friday night showing here in Sioux Falls at like 7 o'clock, so like the prime time to go watch a big blockbuster action movie Friday night, 7:30, I think. The theater was, I mean, there was 50 plus people in the theater to watch Godzilla -1. They would have lost their minds, I think, at this trailer beforehand, because you know you're all geared up, you're ready to watch a giant lizard destroy cities, and to have that kind of trailer, I think the crowd would have lost their mind. I know I probably would have, having watched Godzilla -1, which I'm going to talk about right now. Spoiler alert for when we do our best of the year. I can watch all the other 15 movies I need to watch yet this year. They're not going to touch this movie.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is
excited to see this.
it is far and away my favorite movie of 2023. I think before that might have been like I think it might have been Spider-Man or Creed 3 or I love Spider-Man. Come on. You know that. Evil Dead Rise might have been in there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
it just my point being, I loved those movies. This one just literally blew everything out of the water. It's
Nice.
that good. It is easily one of the best blockbusters I've seen in a very, very long time. What it reminds me of is when I watched Mad Max Fury Road in the theater, where I'm like,
Oh shit.
this is so much better than everything else I've seen recently that I can watch it once and I'm going to remember every single thing about it. That's the same with
Nice.
I've seen Fury Road one time in the theater, and it's still
Yep.
one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. And yeah, that's Godzilla minus one. It makes you feel for every character in this. It wastes no time introducing you to the characters and making you fall in love with the characters almost instantly. The Godzilla mayhem, the Godzilla action. We talked about this off air that I said
Yeah.
most of the big Godzilla action sequences happen in the water,
Which
which
is
I think
terrifying to
is
me.
super cool. It's terrifying. Godzilla is just he's a menace. You don't want to cheer for Godzilla in this movie because you like the character so much. You're like, I don't want anything to happen to them. This giant lizard better leave them alone. And it's again, I on my letterbox review, I called it like I'm going to tell my kids this was Oppenheimer because this movie takes place right at the end of World War II. It's literally right on the tail end of that, and it's about this kamikaze pilot who comes back from the war. He didn't do his job, as you can tell,
Right.
if he was a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of his character and his guilt, I guess. It deals a lot with his guilt, about survivor's guilt. This movie has so many different layers to it. It's an incredible movie. Me talking about it's not going to do any good because it's that damn good. And then on top of that, the monster stuff is incredible. You don't have to see Godzilla fighting a giant other monster or a ape or a metallic Godzilla. You just have Godzilla wreaking mayhem on humans that you like, and you're like, I want these humans to stop him.
See, that's what I feel like is mostly missing from the Godzilla movie, especially like the American. They don't have human characters that you care about, but also like as much as I love the idea of Godzilla and Kong teaming up, I kind of miss when Godzilla was like a bad guy. Because especially recently, he's been like the benevolent. He's saving humanity from the other monsters, and I'm like, yeah, I guess,
Yeah, and it's the fact that the human characters don't lean enough into that, where they're like, all the human characters should be rooting for Godzilla. Our
Yeah,
one human character that did is dead now in this series
yeah,
with Ken Watanabe. Like he's
right.
gone, he's dead. He's the one that was the like cheering on Godzilla at every point he could. And now he's gone. It's like I don't care about Millie Bobby Brown. And,
Yeah, and her conspiracy theorist friend who's like 40 years older than her,
yeah,
and you know, Kong at least has a
and
somewhat
Kyle
fleshed
Chandler, her
out like,
dad. Like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I love so much about the legendary movies, but the human characters aren't one of them.
no,
Um,
they're awful.
yeah. So
Yeah, so highly
yeah,
recommend
yeah,
people if you are listening right now, go watch Godzilla minus one if it's still in
yeah,
theaters. Or I mean, if you're listening on Friday, it's probably out of the theaters by now. So make sure you go rent it whenever it becomes available. I guess
yeah. I
it's
heard it's gonna be coming
incredible.
to Prime for its like streaming
Okay,
debut. But I kind of hope that it's just like available to rent on VOD before then, if I don't make it tomorrow. But I'm really hoping to actually see this thing on the big screen.
yeah.
If I miss it in the theater, I might have to just start it. Like I might have to do a theater room for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right. Other doobie doings. I'm kind of in my most of these are all some sort of holiday themed, I guess.
yeah,
Uh I'll start with some of the older movies and then we'll get to our crossovers when we are there, I guess, between
yeah.
both of our what we're doobie doings. So the first one I'll talk about here is The Children from 2008. which is a Christmas horror movie. It's about this family who is on a like Christmas vacation. They come together, and it's the two different families, brother and sister, with their own children, and it's about how these children like become evil and start killing off the parents, except the teenager realizes that it's the kids killing the parents, while some of the parents believe it might be her doing the killing. So this
Oh,
is this is a mean movie. It doesn't hold back. It doesn't hold back with violence towards children. It doesn't hold back with children inflicting the violence to the parents. This movie is just kind of relentless in that respect. Is it a fun watch? No, it's a mean, dark, gross, gory movie. And I mean, it's definitely worth a watch. It doesn't like put me in like the Christmas spirit like some other like Christmas horror movies do, but it
yeah,
puts you in that like dreary, cold December night spirit.
gotcha.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch. Definitely recommend this movie. The Children.
Okay.
Next up, I'll go something tonally completely different than dark, mean, and gory. We'll talk about Jack Frost from 1997. Have you ever seen Jack Frost, the not Michael Keaton one?
A long time ago, but I will say this on air. I'm a massive fan of the Michael Keaton one. I
Okay.
love that dumb movie. It was a childhood staple. And yeah, I was actually just thinking about it today. Like, I should watch that soon. As far as this one, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is like what you expect from late 90s direct to DVD
Yeah.
horror. It leans into its campiness. Like Jack Frost is giving one-liners the entire time, even though he's like a horrible serial killer
Yeah.
who is going back after the town sheriff and his family because the town sheriff put him in behind bars. Yeah, it's the killer snowman movie. Like I don't know what else you expect from this movie. It's Jack Frost.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. It's what you expect this movie to be. Another movie that is very tonally similar to Jack Frost that I watched on Thanksgiving morning. It's the classic Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Uh, 2008. Have you seen Thanksgiving?
Is that the one with the killer turkey?
Oh yeah, it's the one with the killer turkey.
Yeah, then I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Okay.
I couldn't remember if that one was called something different.
No, Thanksgiving.
Okay, then yes,
Yep.
I've seen it. Oh, it was a while ago, and it was with booze, um,
Yeah.
which is kind of the way you should watch it. I feel like.
Yeah, probably not on Thanksgiving morning, like just
Yeah.
waking up and having a bowl of cereal, watching Thanksgiving, or it is. I mean, it might be the perfect way to watch it too.
Yeah, maybe, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I watch this movie probably once a year, right around Thanksgiving time. I
Hmm.
love this movie. I think it's a fun, super low budget. Like I think they
Yeah,
made this for like less than $5,000 or something like that. It is
yeah,
ridiculously zero budget movie. It knows exactly what it is. I believe it was a student film, or at least made with college students as the production team and the actors. It
yeah,
shows, especially in the acting. Like none of them are actual actors. There's just five archetypes of characters. You got the nerdy girl, you know, the final girl. You got
yeah,
the douchebag jock that she's in love with. You have the fat hillbilly. You have the slutty girl, and then you have the nerdy guy, and that's all their characters are. One of my favorite things though is that they create this like bromance between like the redneck and the nerdy guy. That when the
mm.
redneck kid finally dies, the nerdy kid has like this dream sequence of those two together and all the great times that they had, like going to get ice cream and pushing each other on the swing and
Oh
like
my
holding
god,
hands and running through a like field together. It's incredible. I love that. Might be my favorite scene of Thanksgiving.
I don't remember that at all. I need to rewatch this.
It's
That's
incredible.
incredible.
I love it. Turkey is a great character. Thanksgiving 3, I watched it once and I'm like, it misses the mark, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thanksgiving, go watch it. Well, wait till next Thanksgiving to watch it. You don't need to watch it right now.
Hey, I have an extra roast in my freezer right now that I'm just saving for like a rainy day. So
You're waiting to watch Thanksgiving.
yeah.
My next two movies I have are crossover with you, so I will wait on those. The last like thing I've been watching, and then I got some like Black Friday purchases I'll throw out here as well.
Rad.
In terms of watching though, we watched the first season of What We Do in the Shadows. Have you guys heard of this show?
Yeah. I've been telling you to watch this show for years.
I was gonna say this is years now that
This
people
is
have been talking about this show. We binge watched the first season. The first episode, I was like, okay, I get what we're doing here. We're setting everything up. It was and it wasn't vibing for me. It was enough to be like, all right, I want to see like what they do in episode 2.
the
And
first episode's tedious a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's literally just setting everything up and who the characters are and where they might go in the next couple episodes. By episode 2, I was like, yeah, I love this show. This show is Parks and Rec with vampires. And that's exactly the tone through the first season that it keeps. I love it. Colin Robinson, I think, is my favorite character on this show. I think he's so
fluctuates for me, like based on episode arcs and things. But yeah, Colin's a pretty frequent favorite. You're gonna love him in season 2.
Okay, awesome. Guillermo's right up there too. I love Guillermo. I think he like if he worked at the Pawnee Parks and Recreation Department, he would fit in there as well.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, this show's incredible. I loved it. I mean, I don't need to tell people to go watch What We Do in the Shadows unless you're people like me who haven't watched it yet. Go watch What We Do in the Shadows. We got to the episode where they have the vampire council.
Oh yeah,
and all the actors are like playing themselves.
Yep.
I was like, this is genius. I love this.
It's great, dude. Season 2 has so many gems in it. Like Matt Berry as Laszlo is just like, oh god, he's so good. I love how he refuses to call Guillermo by his name. It's always Gizmo. Like he doesn't know his name. It's oh god. This show is incredible. I haven't even watched all of the newest season yet, but I'm excited to. I kind of wait until the whole season's out, and then I just binge the whole thing. So,
especially when there's only 10 episodes a season, they're 20-minute episodes. Yeah. It's so easy to binge. Like we watched half of the first season in one night, and then the next night we watched the other half. Yeah, so easy to watch.
Yeah, super short seasons, but
they're perfect though. I wouldn't want it really any longer. Next up, I'll go through my Black Friday stuff that I purchased. I picked up from Terror Vision. We talked about this on our big Halloween episode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It is the WNUF Halloween special. I talked about on that episode that it's not streaming anywhere, and the only way to watch it is this Blu-ray. So I had to pick. I think it was like $15 on Black Friday. Yeah, absolutely love this. We're gonna have to do next year a movie night and watch WNUF.
Yeah, and Trick or Treat.
And Trick
like
or
Trick or Treat. Yeah.
Or both.
The new remaster. Because it's crazy, dude.
The Screen Box exclusive.
Yeah. It's gonna be coming on Vinegar Syndrome too, isn't it? I think
Scream Factory is doing it.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
There's something. Yeah, one of them. One of the boutique labels has it.
And then my next thing comes from our friends at Full Moon. This is my Full Moon Black Friday Thanksgiving sale. They had basically like everything was like 50% off. Can't beat that. Picked up more comic books. I know we talked about one of these series already because I read the first 3 issues. So I picked up the last 3 issues that we didn't have at Rainbow Comics here in Sioux Falls. It is Doll Man Kills the Full Moon Universe. It's the final 3 issues. I haven't dove into those yet, so we'll talk about those more later. I also picked up Blade the Iron Cross, issue number 1. And then to the surprise of me, there is a Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama comic book. I picked up again the first issue of that. Well, yeah.
That's rad. That's so cool.
Then the next up, I picked up Charlie Band's book, Confessions of a Puppet Master. Super excited to jump into this. I still need to finish. It came from the video aisle first, so I won't be talking about this one for a while.
Yeah,
because that book is huge. But
I've been listening to this on audiobook, and I like, dude lived a crazy life. Dude lived a crazy life. So
yeah, so I'm pumped to jump into that at some point. Yeah. And then last but not least, this is a tease and a plug for our TikTok, because I will put out more on this there. This is their brand new Full Moon's Tiny Terrors, which is a mystery box where you can get one of these figures here from Puppet Master or many other Full Moon demonic toys, subspecies, etc. Ginger Dead Man. I have not opened it yet. I don't know what I have in here. I will make a TikTok, as the kids say, an unboxing vid. That's what I'll do with that, and we'll reveal it there. So go follow us on TikTok at Screams from the Basement. Is that
sure? Yeah, something like that. Just search Screams from the Basement; it'll pop up, right?
I'll look it up.
Okay, I would, but I have TikTok on my phone, and I'm also using my phone to stream right now.
On your phone. Okay, yep. So yes, at Screams from the Basement. That's where we are, and we have a couple videos up there right now. From both of us.
You can see my dumb face, and
you can see both of our dumb faces.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna be mean to you, but
that's okay. We'll be mean to each other.
Yeah.
But that's it until we get to our crossovers. So I will let you do those when you talk about what you're doing.
That sounds good. I'm going to start mine off with also a little tease. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with TikTok yet with this, but I want to do something. As you know, well, maybe listeners don't know, Casey and I have been working on the Last Stop series.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been so much fun. We've enjoyed doing that. But also, I spend money when we work on the Last Stop series, because we're spending hours upon hours in one of my favorite stores in Sioux Falls. And I found this super awesome Ed Wood box set. Comes with all 5 of his features, as well as a bonus documentary about Ed Wood. Found this behind the counter. Asked our buddy Matt Gribble, hey, can I put this on hold? And our buddy Matt Gribble put this on hold for me. And I picked it up 2 weeks later, and it's beautiful. I haven't cracked it open yet, but be prepared for some TikTok Ed Wood shenanigans from me. Like I said, I don't know what yet. I'm still figuring out what TikTok even is.
Yeah, we both are.
So, but we broke the barrier of like finally starting to do content, and I'm like, okay, like we'll learn this. We'll get there.
It's a learning curve. We're trying.
We're those old guys that are trying to get you young whippersnappers into
those old 30 and 29-year-olds trying to figure out the TikTok.
The TikTok. Yeah. So we had a couple of interviews where we watched movies for those. You can check out our interview with Alan Maxon for Alien Planet, which is a fun, like, sci-fi, very gory sci-fi movie with like a puking space cat.
You described it as Power Rangers meets Star Trek, and that's perfect.
In a big bloody blender. It's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We also watched Bad CGI Gator. We have an interview.
Latest from Full Moon.
Yeah, latest from Full Moon. We'll have an interview with Danny Draven dropping next week.
No, that'll be the one at the end of the month.
End of the month. Yeah, that's right. We have a Creature with Stirring interview dropping. Yes. So we have watched all of these. Mm-hmm. They all have like excellent qualities. They all are unique in their own ways and cool little indie films that we've enjoyed.
Very different. Alien Planet, A Creature with Stirring, and Bad CGI Gator. You guys are gonna love these interviews to go along with these movies. These interviews are just incredible.
The filmmakers have been so awesome, and just
Yeah, Alien Planet's out now. A Creature with Stirring will drop next Friday.
Yes.
So people will have a chance to watch the movie beforehand because that drops
Yes.
on.
The movie drops this Friday, correct?
I believe it drops next Tuesday.
Next
Or
Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's playing in theaters this weekend.
That's right. That's what it is. It's theaters this
Select
weekend.
theaters, yeah.
VOD drop on Tuesday, I believe.
assume Tuesday
so,
then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, check those out. Check out the interviews with the filmmakers. They were all like super awesome and kind and came onto the show and had a blast with us. So yeah. I also watched Ouija's, which is something that Casey has been trying to get me to watch. And since it was directed by Danny Draven, I was like, there's no better time than right before we talk to him. That movie is a ton of fun. Like, it's gonna be a Halloween staple for me going forward, I think, because it's just like it oozes Halloween vibes. It's super funny. It's like it's a stoner comedy that's not about stoners. And we kind of dive into that in the interview with him. But yeah, Ouija's Halloween Night is really fun. I'm glad I finally watched it. I kind of want a Ouija's too. So Charlie, if you're listening.
Oh, he's listening.
Charlie, if you're listening, Ouija's too, man. We got to get it. we got to have it.
A little preview for our interview with Danny Draven on Bad CGI Gator. We do talk quite a bit about Ouija's as well, just because we love the movie and he's very proud of it as well. He explains it's Ghoulies 4, and that's exactly what the movie is. It's, if you're curious and you're like, all right, Ouija's Halloween Night, okay, what really is this? It's Ghoulies 4. That's what it is, but with a Charlie Band gimmick title. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So then I just have our 2 crossovers. That's it.
Sweet.
I didn't do a whole lot of 2 new releases. Both holiday slashers. We watched Thanksgiving together in the theater.
Yep.
Eli Roth Thanksgiving. Casey, what did you think of Thanksgiving?
I liked Thanksgiving a lot. I thought it was really good. I didn't love it. I liked it a lot, though. And here's the thing. It's okay not to love everything, and it's okay not to hate everything, because not everything is the best thing in the world. Not everything's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, highly recommend watching it, though. I think it's a really fun slasher flick. Yep. It's a great whodunit as well, and I think that's like, I love Eli Roth stepping into the world of a straight up slasher, because really we have not seen him do that yet for a guy who like loves slashers, capital L, loves slashers. And so it's so cool to see him finally do it. Again, we did Grindhouse last episode together, where we're inspired by the release of Thanksgiving. We finally got around to watching it. It's nothing like that trailer at all.
No.
It's a straight up, more so it feels like,
but that's like to the benefit of the movie, I feel like.
I don't know. I don't know, because it's 2 different movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
The trailer is early 1980s slasher. This is feels more like a early 2000s, late 90s post Scream slasher more than anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It feels very late 90s to like, actually, I feel like it's almost like early 2000s, like where it's like slashers are still being influenced by Scream. You have hip and savvy characters, but it's got the gore quotient of a mid 2000s remake,
of like the
almost.
remakes.
Yeah. Like it almost like reminds me of like maybe a more self-aware aughts remake of an 80s slasher, weirdly, you know? Like, I feel like it has the same tone as Scream, but with the vibe of like a My Bloody Valentine 3D.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what this movie feels like. It feels like, hey, if you watched My Bloody Valentine in 2009, right?
Yeah.
Is that when that came out?
Yeah.
And you had no idea that there was an 80s version. That's what this Thanksgiving feels like. It was like, oh, I'm going to watch this cool new slasher called Thanksgiving. Oh, it's a remake of an 80s one. Well, actually, in this case, it's not. It's just its own thing. Yeah. That's 100% right. That's what this movie feels like.
Yeah. You know what's funny about My Bloody Valentine? I didn't know it was a remake
Oh,
I went and bought the DVD, or what I thought was the DVD for the new one, and I popped it in. I was a dumb kid. Um, and I popped it in my DVD player, and I'm like, God, they like shot this on like
mhm.
old equipment. They're like committing to the, and then I was like, no, this is from the
Where
80s.
is the
Like,
guy from Supernatural?
right? I was like, wait a minute, no, Jensen Ackles isn't in this. And so yeah, I realized, oh, there's an original. And then I was just hooked by the original. And
The
when I
original
finally watched
is
the remake, I was kind of like,
incredible.
I still like the remake, but oh my god, that original is, it's one of my favorite slashers of all
Y-
time.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll probably do a Screams episode on it at some point,
Hmm.
like because we have to. I know we kind of talked about it on Slash Lab, but it's a new show, so
That's a different show.
yep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanksgiving.
I mean, what did you think of Thanksgiving?
I like it was a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Like I really liked it. I like Eli Ross not reinventing the wheel with it. He's kind of just playing on classic tropes, and I loved it. I thought he did it really well. Um, it's probably my favorite Eli Roth movie, if I'm being totally
Oh,
honest.
interesting.
Like I just really like it. It's it's still got the Eli Roth gore quotient, but it's not as like
This
icky
is
sticky as like a
yeah.
Hostile movie.
This is
You know
like
what
the
I mean?
least sleazy Eli Roth movie too.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that's, I don't
There's
know. It was just like it went down a little bit easier than like
yeah.
most of his movies do.
There's no nudity in this, right? There's
Mm-mm, I don't think
like the
so.
cheerleader like shows her butt, but that's it.
Yeah, she like flashes her
On the
butt, but she's
yeah,
got
the
underwear on,
trampoline.
and
Yeah, the
yeah,
trampoline
yeah.
scene. Yeah.
Which I know we disagree on the trampoline scene, but I actually enjoyed the movie version of the trampoline scene more than the trailer one. And there were a few like that where I'd flip flop where I was like, oh, I feel like the trailer did that better, or like, oh, I really feel like he took that and improved it for the movie. And it was just cool to see the changes that he did make, and just like the way he reinterpreted that trailer into a wider
Hmm.
narrative. I really liked it. It'll probably end up in my top 10. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know
it's gonna
where,
be
but
right
yeah,
around that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I really like Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
Another movie I really liked. I don't know if I'd rate it as high as Thanksgiving. This
Did
is
you
one of
though?
those. I think I did. Yeah. This is one of those movies that I know has like a lot of flaws and imperfections, and like I totally get where people would maybe be a little cold on it, or not connect with it as much. But for me, like I was just, this movie had me hook, line, and sinker the whole way through, and that's It's a Wonderful Knife. It's the new Tyler McIntyre movie written by Michael Kennedy, who both of these guys have done one of my, like a recent favorite of mine in Tragedy Girls, being Tyler McIntyre directing, and Michael Kennedy wrote Freaky. Um, I love both of those movies, and I don't think Knife is quite as good as either of them. But I think that a lot of the strengths of those two movies are present in this one. And I really, I don't know, I just enjoyed it. Um, you had a criticism that I found really interesting, and I don't necessarily disagree with it.
Is
Um,
it so this movie, I mean, by the
yeah,
title, It's a Wonderful Knife. It
yeah,
is it's in the like, hey, what if it's Back to the Future 2, but a horror or
a
a
horror
slasher?
movie. Yeah,
What
yeah,
yeah. What if it's Groundhog Day, but a slasher? This is
yeah,
what if it's a Wonderful Life, but a slasher?
yeah,
And my biggest criticism, and I think this is the one you're referring to, is
yeah,
I think that's the weakest part of the movie is that it has to rely on the It's a Wonderful Life, sorry,
yeah,
trope of like, what would my life be if I was never born?
yeah. I
And
think
I
you're,
think I think it's the weakest part. I would have rather have so the movie sets up that there's a killer in this town, in this town with a hammy Justin Long who's the mayor, best part of the movie.
he's bringing so much weird
He's
energy into this. I
yeah.
love it.
He's incredible. I loved him in this movie. He's the reason I would still recommend people go watch this movie. He's doing something very, very, very weird in this. It's incredible.
We have a different go-to person for that then.
Okay, interesting. But the setup is that there's a killer in this town, and then this teenage girl kills him at this party and saves her brother.
Yep.
But for
she
some
does
reason,
not save her best friend.
She does not
like,
save her
best
best
friend dies.
Yeah. It goes to the next Christmas where everyone treats everything like it's still normal, that this huge tragedy didn't happen in their small town.
But her family has benefited greatly from this.
Benefited greatly. They live in a much bigger house. They give the brother a brand new truck for Christmas. She gets new pajamas.
She gets a lesbian tracksuit.
Yeah.
Which prompts one of my favorite lines of the whole movie, which is her gay aunt, played by
she's great. Catherine Isabel.
By Catherine Isabel goes, "Hey, we would never wear that." Catherine Isabel is.
She's great in this movie. I love her.
She's so funny. She's perfect. Her character name is Gail Prescott. If that tells you anything about like what this movie is doing,
that I didn't love.
I thought it was hilarious. I liked it.
It's too much. It's too much like on the nose of just name her first name Gail and we get what you're trying to do. Because she's nothing like Gail anyway. And so for some reason the girl wishes, I wish I was never born, and it happens, and this killer is now still wreaking havoc on this town and killing off a bunch of teenagers every single Christmas.
And her brother, like, she didn't save her brother, so her brother's not alive in this timeline, and like that, like
no one knows who she is.
Everybody in the town is smoking crack now because just life is so terrible.
Yeah, because one person was never born. The entire town is hooked on crack.
It's so great, dude. Like, that's the kind of stuff though that like when it leans into the like ridiculousness of that stuff, I'm like, oh god, I think this movie is so funny. And I think like sometimes the tonal balance between like it wanting to be funny and also be a very terrifying slasher, but also be this like very heartfelt queer love story. Like sometimes elements of each one of those fall flat just because it's trying to do so much.
Yep.
But I kind of love how ambitious and quirky this movie is. And so I find myself not caring as much. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those that it almost works for me because of the flaws, because it's like, it's trying something that most movies aren't trying, you know? I don't know any other movie that's like this one. Even the ones that we mentioned before, like there's something different about this one to me.
No, for me, it feels very similar to Freaky and Happy Death Day. Like it feels right in those same line as those movies for me. Again, my thing is I wish it was more tonally like Thanksgiving, where it's a whodunit, set around Christmas, and you can really connect us with those characters, because there's a reveal in towards the third act of this movie where it just didn't work for me, and I feel like it would have if we had been a straightforward slasher without the gimmick of It's a Wonderful Life, I don't exist, this is a different timeline.
Yeah.
And I wish the love interest story, it came out of nowhere when whatever happens. I was like, that's where this movie's going. Okay.
I saw it from the beginning.
I didn't need it to.
It's my favorite part of the whole thing.
Really?
And I'll tell you this. I like Jess McLeod as Bernie is one of my favorite fucking movie characters ever, dude. Like, I love that character. I think Jess McLeod's performance in it is incredible. I can't wait to see what they do next. Like, I don't know. Everything about that character, from the minute you meet her to her progressing to like the end where she gains her agency and her confidence, and she's just like, no, like, I don't know. I love it. I love the totally saccharine ending that just kind of brushes over the very real problems that actually should still be addressed. Like, I don't know. There's something about it that just like it's a Hallmark movie that just happens to be a slasher too. And it's messy in
Yeah.
that, but I kind of love it for it.
We probably could have just done a whole episode maybe on like Thanksgiving and this as
Yeah,
a double feature. But
probably.
the thing with this, like, it's a slasher movie with a lot of blood, but there's not a lot of gore.
Yeah,
Know what
I
I
didn't
mean?
need it. Yeah, I didn't need it though. It
I
plays to me more like a Scream where there's not a lot of gore, it's just bloody, you know?
well, Scream opens with someone's guts like falling out of their body.
Yeah, but overall, when you think of Scream, like that's one of the goriest deaths until you get to like Scream 4, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like yeah. I know what you mean. I just don't necessarily I don't dislike that.
This is if people watch the trailer for It's a Wonderful Knife and hear one of us liked it and one of us didn't, they know exactly who's who in
Yeah.
this situation.
Oh,
And I love that. I think
easily. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Like here's the thing. I watched this before you. I watched this twice
Mhm.
before you did. And the minute I finished it, I was like, we're gonna have different opinions on this one. Like,
Mhm.
I just kind of knew in my gut. I'm like, this is not gonna be Casey's bag. This is one of those that just like, I don't know. I like the weird, quirky stuff. I like I like 3-star movies that are trying their hardest to be 5-star movies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just my favorite kind of movie. And this one, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I watched this, I had gotten some distressing news right before I watched this. And so I was in a very like emotionally volatile state going into this movie for the first time. And it took me like 10 minutes to dry my face after I finished this movie. Like it was one of those where it's just like, this is the cathartic good cry that I needed tonight. You know, it carried me through. So,
Hey, I'm glad it did that for you.
I don't know. Yeah, this is one of my favorites of the year. I probably overrate this movie, but I love it anyways, so I don't care.
I feel like
It's just who I am.
we'll talk about this again in a few episodes.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep. It's a Wonderful Knife. And that's all I've been doing. Aside from watching a lot of like I haven't watched a lot of Christmas horror yet, but I have started my Christmas watching a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure I'll have plenty of Christmas horror by the next time though. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say I have hardly touched my Christmas horror yet. I need to get on that.
Yep. So, but yeah,
All
It's a
right.
Wonderful Knife. That was the start of my Christmas horror season, and I thought it was pretty damn good kickoff. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
All right.
now on to the main topic.
We're gonna get spooky. All right. We're talking our real life ghost stories.
Ghost adventures.
We're gonna do this in ASMR. No, we're not. Please don't. I hate that. That gives me the heebie-jeebies more than ghosts do. See, exactly. I legit get goosebumps from that stuff. I don't like it.
That's fair.
So we're talking our real life ghost stories. We teased it, I guess, at the top of the show. Do we need to make a distinction between ghosts, spirits, ghouls,
So, I mean,
paranormal, supernatural? What are they? We're the experts here. Tell the people, Sam.
I have chosen stories that are maybe a little less like personal. Like I don't want to deal with any like spirits of loved ones that I know. Like I'm not airing that out, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a new thing entirely. I'm looking at the ones that like even if they were harmless encounters kind of put a little chill up my spine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the kind that are like, "Oh, that's spooky. That's a ghost I don't know." You know? I feel like ghosts are the spirits you don't know. Spirits are the ghosts you do know. That's
Interesting.
my
Okay.
differentiate, right? A little bit?
Okay.
Or is that stupid? I don't know.
No. I get it. here's the thing: we all have kind of our own definitions, even for people who do believe and don't believe in whatever ghosts, supernatural spirits,
Right.
whatever. Uh, yeah, I believe in spirits, is what I would say.
Okay.
Of you're not human, you're also not stuck on Earth,
Yeah.
but you're somewhere
You're just kind of in a between
in this
realm.
weird plane of existence that we will never, ever, ever understand.
No, not until we're there.
Yeah,
If we're
and
there.
then we can haunt someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a poltergeist. I'm definitely gonna learn how to throw shit as a ghost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the
Yeah.
fun. That's the fun ghosts. They're the practical jokers.
Yeah.
That's what those ghosts are.
I'm
So,
gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna give a suburban dad a wedgie in his new old house. That was a dumb joke, sorry. Dead air.
yeah. Just like that joke. So let's kind of jump into this.
Yeah.
How many stories do you have? And then we have a couple. Well,
I have 3 solo
2.
ones and 1 shared one. And then our buddy Blake, he sent me in a really personal story.
Yeah.
So
We'll throw that one in like halfway through our
yeah.
Blake who Blake Ginnathan, shout out Blake Ginnathan, who commented on our post saying he does not believe in ghosts, even though he sent us this ghost story.
Yeah, he sent
So-
us a ghost story, so he must just be trying to save face. But I told him, like, since you sent this to me, I'm gonna read it on air.
A totally true ghost story.
A
He sent
totally
Sam
true ghost story.
that Sam received from Blake. We'll talk about that
Yep.
later. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of mine. One that sort of relates to me, and then Kayla sent us 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to? Do you want to go like every other? I don't know. How do you want to?
Sure.
How do you want to
Let's
jump
just go
into
every.
this
Let's
chat?
go every other. Let's go every other.
Okay.
Do you
So
want to start since you have more?
I can start. Mine. So I don't know about you. When your earliest story is, none of mine are from childhood. All of mine are from teenage years on.
One of mine is just more of like, it's not even necessarily a story. It's just about a ghost that I kind of grew up with as a kid.
Okay.
And then the other ones are all from like post high school, like definitely adulthood. So
Okay. So my first one's in high school. My first job I ever had in high school, worked there throughout all of high school, was at Pizza Ranch. My dad was the general manager, so I worked there in high school all 4 years, and then a couple years after that as well. So this would have been one of the like first 2 years, I believe, that I was working there. So this is like 2010-ish when this happened. So in that store, I have 2 stories. They happened in the exact same spot. So the first thing I have to, I guess, lead up to is when I worked there, it was often talked about that there's something weird going on in the store. Like doors will open by themselves, things will fall off like the top of shelves, stuff like that. And I wasn't the only one that this was before I even had something happen. This was other people saying that, like, yeah, there's something weird. We don't know what it is. There's not a story. Like the building wasn't that old. Like it was probably built in like the 70s, probably. It's not like there's a story where this fry, like it's not the hash slinging slasher story from SpongeBob or anything like that. It's just something was there. And so one night I was working with a friend of mine, and the nightly routine was you go lock the doors and then you shut off all the lights, make sure everything's off that needs to be off, and then you leave. Also with that, you need to bring all the money deposit to the bank. And the bank was literally right across the street. So you just walk there. And so it was just us 2 there. It's 9-10 o'clock at night. We're in the store. He's like, I'm going to go bring the money to the bank. Do you want to shut off all the lights, make sure the doors are locked, and then when I come back, we'll leave? Cool, no problem. He takes off, leaves. I'm sitting at the front counter after I shut off all the lights, locked the doors. I'm sitting there at the front counter, and I take a look down where the buffet is. And at the end of the buffet, there's a 2-way mirror. And on the other side of that mirror is like the main office, my dad's office.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there. You can't see anything in. It's just a mirror back to you unless the light turns on. So guess what happened next? I looked down
Mm.
there and the light turned on.
Ugh.
No one else in the store, just me by myself. I wait for my buddy to come in and he comes back and he's like, "Yeah, you ready to go?" I'm like, "No, the office light just turned on by itself." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "The office light turned on by itself. You can see it." And so he saw it. He, having no fear for some reason, goes in and like turns on all the lights. "Hello? Anyone in here? You need to leave. We're closed." No one was in there. We're
Oh
like,
my
"Okay, whatever.
God.
That's just weird." We shut off the lights, we leave. So that was the first experience I had. Then
Ugh.
probably this was like 3 years later. I was out of high school at this point. That something in that office happened again. Again, nothing had happened in a very long time, but just one night I walked into that office to start counting money in there, and I walked out, and right next to the door on the outside is where our coat hanger was. So you'd come in,
Mm-hmm.
drop off your coat. So I stepped outside of there, and one of the coat hangers swung back and hit the wall right by my head, and just started swinging like back and forth.
Oh my God.
And then again, this is at night. The lights were still on and everything. There was other coworkers, but they were all on the other side of the building. I was just there, me by myself, no fans, nothing like that. And it was just swinging by itself, and it smacked against the wall. I could hear it smack.
Ugh.
So, two things that happened in that same office space. What happened there? Why something was lingering around that? I don't know. Still don't know to this day. Don't know if there's other experiences that have happened there since, but that's the spooky Pete's Ranch in Rock Valley, Iowa.
Well, that's terrifying.
That may be the tamest story I have.
Yeah, see, this stuff gets under my skin like quicker than most things,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
All right, Sam, what's your first one? I'm ready to get spooked.
okay, my first one, I'm going with kind of so this is like kind of a dark story.
Okay.
So this is, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe, yeah, probably about 4 years ago. Maria's sister is living in Vermilion, and she just got a new apartment off campus with a couple of her friends, and it was just like one of those houses that has 3 different apartments in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, her and Maria were like out of town. Maybe they were visiting family or something. They were coming back, and I needed to go pick up Maria in Vermilion from Sophie's new place. So I drove out to Vermilion and they weren't getting back until like 9-10 o'clock at night. So like 8 o'clock comes. I've been watching horror movies all day. You know, like I'm a little spooked anyways, but like 8 o'clock comes. I get in my car. I drive out to Vermilion, and I get to this house, and I pull in, and Sophie was like, "Oh, one of my roommates should be home. Like it'll be unlocked. Just go in." I'm like, "Okay." So like I get there, neither of her roommates are there, but the door is unlocked. So I went in, and I'm turning on all the lights, and I'm like, doing the thing where it's like, oh, this is like my sister-in-law's new house. I'm gonna, like see what it's like and see what, and just from the minute I walked in, I was just like, something hit me. I'm like, nope, I'm uneasy. This is weird. Like there's a vibe. There is a vibe to this place. And I just like took it as you've been watching horror movies all day. You're in your own head. It's probably fine. But I get about halfway up the steps and I notice that the banister is broken. Like there is one, post in the banister that's just snapped. And it just right around that area. That was where I was like, nope, I cannot be in here alone. There's just something here. I don't like it. And I went out and I sat in the car. And I don't know why. They were running a little late. I sat out in the car for like 45 minutes and I would not go into that house again. And like they got there. I set all of my buys out in the driveway. And I was like, next time we visit, maybe it'll be day. Maybe I won't be as creeped out. I'm just not going to be in there. And I'd visited a couple more times later. And like, I always felt uneasy, but it was like when there were other people there, I was like, okay, I can handle this. But like, I would never be in that house alone. Like, never. So a few months after she moves, we're outside, we're having like a bonfire or something, and her neighbors, this like elderly couple, comes over to just talk and say hey, and we're talking to them and everything. And Sophie goes back in the house, and it's just Maria and I. And they're like, so did the people who rented this, did they tell you what happened with the previous tenant? And I'm just like, what? What do you mean what happened with the previous tenant? What happened with the previous tenant? There was a foreign exchange student who had been renting that. And on the eve of when she was supposed to return to her country, she had hung herself from the banister. That is what the broken banister was. I don't know why the fuck they didn't fix it. That's a weird thing to not fix. And ever since then, I was like, after that, I was just like, the less I had to be in that house, the better, because it just felt like it attached. Like right when I got in, like it was just like, nope, 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 nope. Like, get this off of me. Like, I don't want any, like, it was the most, like, nothing particularly happened. It was just the whole feeling of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never shaken that. It was so freaky. Like, it took me weeks to get over that. It was bad. I had nightmares. Like, I was just, oh. There's a short, I wrote a whole short story just based on that I probably will never ever show anybody, because it just like, I had to get it out. And then I was like, okay, it's released. I'm done with it. I'm free of it.
That's terrifying.
Yep. So that's my big ta-da.
All right, I'll go to my next one, because this one, it's a little more lighter, because this is the one I can probably just debunk myself.
Yeah, those are always the best ones, where there's like
but
a little bit.
That's not a fun story though. So this actually happened. There's no way I can debunk that this actually did not happen. So in high school, and again in Rock Valley, there was a farmhouse just outside of town. The name it had was the Blair Witch House.
Okay.
Very clever for the local legend, right? Just to be lazy and name it after a very infamous book or a movie.
Yeah.
But the story is that there was this witch out there that lived in this house and had like witchcraft books and stuff like that. And she would bring children out. It's the same story as the Blair Witch. She would bring children out there and she would kill them. So it's just this old abandoned farmhouse. Anyway, me and my buddies, who we again in high school, we're the weirdos that were into this. We watched Ghost Adventures like literally every Friday night and stuff like that. So we were into this stuff. So like some night we need to go out there. So we literally got a group of like 6, 7, 8 of us one night at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And we're like, we're going to go out there. We went out there first during the day because we were actually somewhat smart in this behalf of none of us have ever been out there before. This is abandoned private property.
Yeah.
What's out? Like, we need to know what we're walking on in case like there's boards of wood with nails sticking out of them. Or who knows what else up.
Fucking bear traps or something. Yeah.
So we went out there during the day. And we all went out there and we just kind of walked around the house. One of my buddies, there's a basement underneath, but there was no steps to it. And so it was probably like a 5-foot drop into this little, it was like stone and you drop into it. And that's how you can see into the basement. And so I like helped him down and he like just shined his flashlight in there quick. He's like, yeah, there's like shackles hanging on the stone wall down here. I'm like, no, there's not. So he took a picture of it on his shitty little slider phone. There was, I don't know if I'd call them shackles. They were chains, you know. They were
Yeah.
chains on the wall. I helped them back out. Anyway, we're out there, and we start just like picking up all this old stuff. And this is still during the day. We pick up all this old stuff, and there's like, I don't know, old furniture out there still, and old farm equipment. There was an old record player though, and so we picked that up and we're like, wow, this is like super old, like 60s, probably 50s. So we pick it up. That's cool. And like one of my buddies tosses it like over his shoulder. And we keep walking maybe 10, 15 uh, yards away. And all of a sudden we start hearing like old timey music. And like me and my buddy, we were behind the pack because we picked up that record player and he tossed it. We both looked at each other and we're like, you hear that, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is that old timey music? I'm like, that's what I am hearing right now. And so we run and like catch up to the group and we explain what happened. We're like, we picked up this record player. Now it's playing old timey music. We can hear it. So we all like take off. That was like, all right, we're done. We went back that night. Nothing happened. We just kind of wandered around the house, and that was it. The story is, I think it was a cow making the noise.
Oh,
My own debunking is like right across the gravel road was a big like cattle farm.
yeah. And like
And
just the mental, like just kind of playing like an
like,
auditory trick
yeah,
on you.
we hear old music. No, it's probably the cow. Like
You're already primed for it. Your brain just like
Yeah.
connects the rest of the dots. Sometimes I feel like that's what it is. My next story is probably a little more of that than anything
Mhm.
else. But yeah, it's still creepy in the moment. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
still creepy. Like
terrifying.
the house is still terrifying. Like it's still a
Yeah.
creepy old abandoned house with all the windows broken out of it, and it's just there. So again, it's creepy. It would make for a great like movie set and stuff like that. Did something supernatural there happen? There was other stories of other kids going out there, and like one of the stories, and I don't believe this at all, is that someone went out there with their cell phone. Again, this is like 2010.
Hmm.
Great quality videos on cell phones back then. And someone took a video on their cell phone, and like when they like moved the camera in front of the house to film inside the house, it like would get staticky, and you'd move it back to the outside of the house and it'd be fine. But
Weird.
one of the kids lost their phone, so it like they couldn't show anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sure, okay.
Yeah.
But that was
That's
like one of the
bogus.
stories. So
Yeah.
that was that's the Blair Witch House of Rock Valley.
That's awesome. Okay, so I actually thought of another one. So now we're like even Stevens on
Okay.
stories, I think. So that's the one I'll tell next. This is the one that's probably the most debunked, like in my brain, where I'm
Mhm.
like, I was probably just like, just overactive imagination type of stuff. So when Maria was in college, she like I want to say her junior year, she moved into, or maybe her senior year, maybe it was her senior year of college. She moved into an all girls dorm, which had very strict, like, no boys over policy, which,
Mhm.
it's a girls dorm. Yeah. But I lived 3 hours away. So if I was going to come visit, I was going to spend the night.
Mhm.
And she was an RA, so she had like a room of her own, and it was fine. Like it wasn't like we were loud or like I wasn't disrupting anything, but it always kind of like put me on edge at night anyways, like, oh god, what if I have to get up and go to the bathroom? Like what if someone sees me walking around? um but so one night we're in the little like kitchenette downstairs, and we're making like popcorn shrimp or something in the stove. And I just happened to look above the stove, and there's like a little piece of paper that's just taped to the wall, like a little strip of notebook paper. And all it says on it is "Beware the Penguin Lady." And I was like, "Fuck is that? What's the Penguin Lady?" And Maria's like, "Oh, it's just like some stupid ghost story around here." And I'm like,
Tell me more. Tell me
"Okay,
more.
you need to tell me more about this. Like, if there's a ghost here, I want to know about it." And so apparently it was like this local, this like legend in the dorm that there was like a cleaning lady who had a fascination with penguins. Like she put penguin stickers all over the place and she had little penguin figurines and just penguin everything. You know the type of lady that has, like a certain animal as everything. And apparently this lady, like, I don't think this is true because I couldn't find any public records of this, but apparently the lady like killed herself in the dorm. I think she probably just either quit or whatever, but
She went to go
the
work at a
story,
zoo. Yeah.
right, yeah. The story is that she killed herself in the dorm and that she, like people who were misbehaving after hours, like she'd come and she'd shush you or whatever,
Mhm.
right? And so dumb story, obviously like a made up urban legend that got muddled over the years or whatever, but it was enough to freak me out. So that night, I go out into the hallway to go to the bathroom, and like I picked an odd time so that like RAs wouldn't be making their rounds or whatever. And I run downstairs to the like general bathroom on the first floor. And everything's fine, whatever. I pee. I'm going back up the steps. I hear footsteps behind me. And I turned around. I didn't see anybody. And the footsteps stopped. So, like, this could have been my own footsteps echoing in an empty dorm hall, right? It's probably what it was, but I start walking and I hear it again. And I was like, what? And I stopped. And once again, they stopped. But then I looked, I kind of poked my head around the little like stairwell and I saw a fucking shadow of a person. And I screamed. Like, I was not subtle about it at all. Like, it was a, like, and I booked it the rest of the fucking way up the stairs. I have Maria's like dorm key, like I'm fumbling it as I'm running down the hallway towards her door. And I just, oh God, I ran in there like a bat out of hell. And she was like, she was asleep. She's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I just saw the penguin lady. And then we both had a good laugh at my expense.
Yeah.
But she's like, it was probably just an RA or someone else getting up to use the bathroom. And I'm like, yeah, probably. But like, oh my God, you
And then
can't tell me a ghost story and then make me.
they heard a girl scream and they went, okay, we're fine. We can go back to bed.
They... I'm surprised. I'm surprised like people didn't like, I mean, I guess I was in the stairwell, so maybe like in the dorms you didn't hear it as, but I was like, it freaked me out. It freaked me out. It was one of those like, I don't know. So the penguin lady of Graham Hall and Pella. It's a real story. There's even like a little Reddit thing.
Oh,
Like there's like some sort of little like mini article on it.
on the penguin lady. Okay.
Yeah. So
I was half expecting you in the story to look up the steps and you see the penguin like from Billy Madison, like, mm, you know,
oh, I wish I would. That would have been a good story. Instead, I'm just nervous sweating now because I'm thinking about it.
the penguin lady might have followed you to your apartment.
I know that's the problem. Is now I'm going to be thinking about all these stupid specters.
At least you can pee in your own apartment and you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
the penguin lady.
Yeah, that's another. So that's another one that I wrote a short story about though, because I just couldn't like. That's how I process things like that actually scare me. Is I write them and then I lock them away forever.
It's where the penguin lady will stay.
Yeah.
All right. I can go to. I'll go to my sister's one. She didn't send this in, but it's just something that happened to her. Because my next two are when I moved to Sioux Falls. So I guess this is my last one when I still lived at home story. So again, I don't had nothing to do with me. I wasn't there, didn't experience any of this. This is what I was told the next morning. And all it is that we lived in this house and it was like on the hill overlooking the rest of the town is where our house was at that point. It is well known, and I guess I don't know well known, but like it's known and it's historically accurate that at some point there was a Ku Klux Klan
Mm.
and they would burn crosses up on that hill, whether it was like right where my house was or something like that, or miles away. I don't know. But that's the story, and that's what I'm going to use as kind of some sort of setup to this because I don't know what else this would be. Anyway, at that house, we had a basement with 2 bedrooms. Me and my sister had one each, and they were both at the end of the hallway, like in the furthest part from the stairs. And they were exactly right across from each other. And so, as the story goes, as I was told the next morning, because I had come home from work at like 10 o'clock at night and everyone else was already sleeping and in bed. So I would hang out, do my own thing, and then I would go to bed. Anyway, woke up the next morning and my mom asked me, she's like, "Were you working last night?" I was like, "Yeah, I didn't get home till like 10. And I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Oh, well, your sister saw something black run from her room into your room." And I was like, "What? Excuse me?" She's like, "Yeah, this is at like 5, 6 o'clock at night. We were sitting upstairs, like right above." And she's like, "Yeah, your sister went down the hall and saw something, a black figure run from her room, which was all black, into my room, which was all black."
Oh no.
And she's like, "Yeah, she slept upstairs with us. Like she was still in high school. She slept upstairs, like on the couch or something."
Yeah, no shit. I would have too.
No one told me about this, and and that's literally what I said. I was like, "You guys didn't didn't tell me about this. Wait until the
Oh,
next morning when some black figure ran into my room." And that's the story. We don't know what it was. Like nothing ever that I know of ever happened in that house. Nothing personally happened to me. Like I didn't hear about it till the next morning.
ugh. It freaks me out, dude. It freaks
So
me out.
I don't know if it was related to stuff previously that happened on that
This is
hill.
a bad idea for an episode. I'm so
If
scared right now.
if my sister was seeing stuff, I don't know. So
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna choose to believe that your sister has serious mental issues, and
I think my
because it
next
just makes it so much. It makes it so much better for me as a listener.
no, I think she believes in this stuff as much as
Oh yeah,
I do. So
yeah.
we're
No,
probably on the same boat of
yeah.
it was something.
Yeah. Oh, obviously it was something. I'm just trying to make it not something.
You didn't have to sleep in that room and didn't know about it like I did. And wake up the next morning to hear, "Hey, some
Look,
black figure was in
here's
your room last night," and we
here's
didn't
the
tell you
thing.
about it.
If they would have told me about that at any point, I would have been like, I don't care. We are moving houses. I'm not sleeping in that room ever.
What's funny
Figure
is
it out, mom and dad.
they
You
asked
shouldn't
me
have
the
picked
next
a haunted fucking house.
they asked me the next morning. They're like, "Did anything happen?" I'm like, "Well, no, but now I'm going to be thinking about it."
Oh God. That's
So
terrifying.
it is terrifying. Yeah, I didn't sleep well the next couple nights. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I might have
Oh,
actually slept. So at that time, my parents had a theater room in their basement, and I might have just slept in there the
yeah.
next couple nights.
I
I
don't
don't
know why
remember,
you
but
wouldn't have slept there all the time,
oh, I
honestly.
did. I did sleep there quite a bit.
I was about to say one of my buddies had like a big theater room in his basement with like a giant wraparound couch. And like that's just where we used to sleep when I go over to his place. Like
Yeah,
we just
we had
pass
like
out right on the
the
couches.
the theater recliners. It was almost like the state
Oh
theater.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's
I would
awesome.
fall asleep in there quite often,
Yeah.
especially if ghosts were in my room.
Right? Oh God. Is it
Yeah,
mine now?
that's the end of
Okay.
that story. Yeah, nothing
Oh,
else
okay.
happened.
Well, let's move on to my non-threatening ghost story. This is the ghost from my childhood.
Okay.
And as a kid, this freaked me out. Um, until I kind of like realized like there are different kinds of ghosts.
Hmm.
There are like good ghosts too. So my grandpa, uh, on my mom's side, he when he was around, he was always like he would always talk. I remember him always talking about the ghost that attached to him. I can't remember what the ghost's name was because he had a name for him. Like
Okay.
him and this ghost were on first name basis. But he's like, he's harmless. He just hangs out. He followed him like from house to house.
Mm-hmm.
This ghost had been with him for like almost his whole adult life. And he said the only thing he ever does is sometimes when I'm reclined back in my chair with my feet out, or I'm laying in bed and my feet are outside of the blankets, all of a sudden I'll get a foot rub every once in a while.
That's
It was just,
that's terrifying.
isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, that's scary as hell, dude. But like,
Yeah.
he swore up and down. He's like, I just sometimes a ghost comes and massage, like it just touches my feet. And he's like, the first couple times it scared me, but it's actually kind of
Mhm.
relaxing now. And I'm just like, you're insane. I'd be calling an exorcist. I'd be like, I'll take the bunions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would say maybe if you get used to it, it's like, yeah, I get a
Yeah.
free ghost foot massage every once in a while. That's
Like
I
I'm
guess
I'm
if you get
sure it was
used to it.
just, yeah, like over the years he just like kind of grew accustomed. He's like, he's never bothered me,
Yeah.
like he's like every once in a while he'll turn the radio on or something. And I definitely did see that. Like every once where like all of a sudden something would just turn on in my grandpa's house and I'd be like,
Mm,
okay, yeah. Like there was definitely something there. I remember like sometimes I'd, if there were big family get-togethers and I was feeling antisocial, and my grandpa always kind of got that. Like he was like, "Oh yeah, I know. Like here's an R-rated movie. Go upstairs and watch it on my little TV upstairs or something." And that's how I watched a lot of like Tarantino, Scorsese, a lot of Stephen King adaptations. I remember watching Misery upstairs in his bedroom, and like the whole time I felt like I was being watched. I'm like, the ghost is definitely here with me
mhm.
right now, which just added to the tension of Misery. And I've never watched that movie since because it scared the crap out of me. I watched it with a ghost. I don't know how you top that viewing experience, you
The
know?
ghost was attached to the scene where James Caan's,
Go,
feet get
go
crushed.
inward.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
might try that later.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it was just weird. And like my grandpa would tell me these stories. I'd be like, stop telling me about your ghost. Because I'd go
Keep
home
it
and
to
I wouldn't be able to
yourself.
sleep. Like I'd be like, what if grandpa's ghost followed me home?
Yeah. Yeah, that would
uh
terrify me.
yeah. So my grandpa had a ghost and he'd give him foot
Mhm.
massages. Yep.
All right. I'm gonna read Kayla's story then. Because I
Okay.
think that's a nice transition to hers, because hers also deals with uh stuff at the house and what happened in the bed. At
Yeah.
least once.
Well, and one of these stories takes place while we're recording, so who knows what's
It
happening
could
in
be
the other
happening
room right now.
right now. So
Kayla,
yeah, this
I hope you're okay.
should I message her? I'm gonna message her right now just to make sure.
just to make sure. Just to make sure we're not bringing any bad juju in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to both of you. I'm gonna say we're telling your ghost story right now.
Scream if anything happens.
Sending good vibes everywhere.
Sending good vibes.
She can hear us.
Oh, she can hear us.
Because before I even type that, I just get a message that says assholes.
Don't send
Hey,
me that juju.
we're sending good vibes.
We're
Good
sending
vibes.
good vibes.
All right, let's tell this story. So this
Spooky
happened.
ghosts.
So this happened in this house that I'm in right now. So I'm just
That's
going to read
terrifying.
exactly what
She's watching us.
what. Oh, that's even worse. So I'm going to tell Kayla's story as she wrote to us. Again, none of this happened to me. This was all Kayla's stuff. I 100% believe this happened though, because I remember the one, especially the one after we were recording a podcast at some point. She
Well,
was
that
like,
one's
she was in the room and she's like, I'm not, nope, done with that. So anyway, let's jump right into Kayla's story. I'm just going to read what she said. All right, so this is Kayla. I had 2 incidents happen in the house we currently live in. The first incident, I was laying in bed on my side facing the bedroom wall. with my knees slightly bent, so there was a gap between my knees and my head. I had felt something sit down in that gap, so kind of like right where her stomach would be, just to visualize. And when I looked to see if it was one of the animals, there was nothing there. However, the memory foam in that area was rising up from something being there. So that's the first story. Again, these happened right around the same time, like within a week or two of each other. So not isolated incidents. Whatever this was definitely the same thing.
Yikes.
The second incident is when I was getting a cup out of the cupboard. My back was towards the rest of the kitchen. Casey was recording, and the boys, our pets, were in the living room and in the bedroom. When I was standing there, I could feel something stroke my back from my shoulder blades to my lower back. The worst part was I was wearing a wicking shirt and could hear the skin of whatever it was getting snagged on the shirt as it stroked my back. My logical decision was to run and hide in the room. LOL. And that's where I found her after we were recording.
Yeah, I imagine. I wouldn't. Oh my God. I mean, personally, Casey, I'm sure Kayla loves you. I love you. But like, if I were Kayla in that situation, I would have just doused the house in gasoline and lit a match and walked out. Like,
with
sorry.
Me in it.
Just, some people do that with spiders. I'd do that with a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Just, nope, there's a ghost here. We're setting it all on fire.
Kayla's watching. How long ago was this? I'll wait for her to respond. So we'll wait for her to respond. I don't remember how long ago this was. This was less than 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. Trying to remember. But yeah, relatively recently. Nothing's happened since then. Again, nothing happened to me. Kayla said 2 years, so
Okay.
roughly 2 years ago. Yeah, nothing happened to me during that time. It was definitely something that there was some bad juju, maybe from old roommates or something like that, left around, some aura. I don't know. But yeah, Kayla said she saged the house. I think we told whatever it was to go away too. And so whichever one, both, who knows, it worked. So
we've saged every apartment we've moved into. Like, nope, we don't fuck around with that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep. Oh God, that's terrifying.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell Blake's story now? I think we should tell Blake's story now.
I think we should tell Blake's story.
Because he's messaging us right now and has... Can I read what Blake said? He has
no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what he said. I have no idea what you're talking about. When you told him that you're going to read his story live on air.
Yeah. I thanked Blake for the story, for the very real and legitimate story he sent me.
Very real, legitimate story that Sam did not write this afternoon before we recorded story.
Not at all.
It's real. It came from Mr. Blake Ginnathan. All right, what did Blake send us?
You'll find that I didn't even write this. It's a tale as old as time. So this is on behalf of Blake. He wrote in, he doesn't personally believe in ghosts. He doesn't have encounters with the supernatural, but his sister did. His sister Lori did one time.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was it was Halloween night, and she had some friends that were across the street at this house. They were making out and they were having sex and everything. And they had been like bugging her all night to like join in and be like, hey, you should, like loosen up and party. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So these two friends are across the street.
Is this the Lori that had a crush on someone named Ben?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I know who that is. Yeah.
So her friend across the street, Linda, she's really thirsty, right? And so she asks her boyfriend, Bob, for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob goes downstairs and he never comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bob's gone. Linda doesn't know what's happened to Bob yet, but all of a sudden this ghost comes upstairs. This ghost in glasses, Bob's glasses. And at first she's like, oh, that's kind of cute. He's dressing up. And then she realizes like something's up. this might be a real ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to call Blake's sister, Lori. And Lori all of a sudden just hears the sounds that she thinks are love making. She thinks Linda's crank calling her. And so she doesn't take it seriously. Goes over to the street like a half hour later. That ghost killed Linda. Killed her with the phone cord, dude.
The ghost did.
The ghost did, yeah.
Wow.
That's Blake's scary story.
What was Blake doing this entire time? Like watching like old 50s sci-fi movies on the TV or what? What was he doing?
He was downstairs. He was watching The Thing from Another World.
Yeah, and I mean, that sounds like Blake.
Yeah, right? Like just watching horror movies, not even helping his sister who's going through a trauma right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like in 40 years, they're going to make a whole trilogy of movies about it.
Thank you. Thanks to Blake Ginnathan for sending in that story.
Thanks, Blake.
Of Bob's Ghost, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks, Blake.
We appreciate it.
For the very real story.
Very real story.
Called Bob's Ghost.
Called Bob's Ghost. All right. What other stories do you have? What other very, very real stories do you have?
Okay, the next one's real, and it kind of haunts me still to this day. It freaks me out a little bit. So back in my early 20s, actually, I think I was probably still like 19, maybe 20 at this point. I'm with a few friends. We're all doing what normal 18 to 24-year-olds do on a Friday night. And we think it'd be really bitchin' to go out to this haunted cemetery that's about 15 miles out of town or so. This is in the time where, it's in the time where like most people are getting iPhones, but my friends and I are all broke. So we have the shitty like Motorola flip phones that don't have the flashlights and stuff.
Yeah, the fake BlackBerry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we all like pile into this car and we drive out to this haunted cemetery on a night where it's like, it's a new moon. There's like no stars. It's pitch black out. And we get out there and we realize like no one brought a flashlight and we're all trying to use our terrible flip phones and we're just tripping over tombstones. Like, it's just not good. Like, we're like, one of us is going to break an ankle and like, we don't want to have to call cops or like emergency services out here since we're technically trespassing. So we're like, whatever. We're gonna leave. We'll come back another night when we actually have flashlights and we like prepared for this, right? So we pile back into the car. We're driving back into town. And we see something up ahead in the road. And the driver slows down and we get closer to it. And sitting just in the dead center of the highway, just laying on the ground, is a fucking flashlight. And the driver starts pulling over and goes, well, there's a flashlight. Let's just go back now. And I was like, are you fucking kidding? No, you gunned this bitch. Like, and we did not. We drove. I made them drive. I'm like, we are not picking up a cursed flashlight on the side of the road. This is where I draw the line. Like, I'm like, do you want to die? Because that's how you die in a horror movie. Like, so nothing actually happened. It was just terrifying.
Yeah,
and
terrifying.
I'm the pragmatic scaredy cat. Nowhere. Yeah, it was freaky. It was freaky. It was not there on the way. We literally took the same route. Like, we would have seen it on the way there. We did not. Mm-hmm. It was terrifying. I'm like, no, we do. When it's the one thing you don't bring, and then you find it in the middle of the road on your way back, something malevolent wants you in that graveyard tonight.
Mm-hmm. Like, here you go. Here's that flashlight you guys were missing.
I was like, no. I am really dumb most times, but I am smart enough to survive a horror movie. Or at least scared enough to survive a horror movie. Maybe smart's not the right word. I'm just too much of a scaredy cat. I'm the Shaggy and Scooby. I survive out of sheer terror.
Sheer terror and food.
Yeah. Yep. And food. So that's
All
my
right.
flashlight story.
Okay, that's terrifying.
Yeah. It's freaky, isn't it?
Hmm. How many do you have left?
I just
Do you
have
have
one
just
after this.
our
And
the one
it's our
our
shared
ones?
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell my two because they're both relatively short.
Okay.
And again, so these next three stories that we'll tell, they're all in Sioux Falls, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all relatively like if you look up like Sioux Falls ghost stories,
Oh yeah.
these are ones that are going to pop up. So we're not the
Yep.
only ones. These are the ones I'm more inclined to believe are even more
Legit.
real,
Yeah.
legit than some of the other ones, even though I think 100% most of our other ones are legit as well, especially
Mm-hmm.
Blake's. I think Blake's is obviously
Yeah.
the one that has the most
Blake
historical
seems the
accuracy.
more realistic of
Yeah.
all of these.
It
Yeah.
feels like I've seen that before myself.
Right?
Anyway,
You
my
feel
next
like you were
two,
there.
I feel like I was there. I feel like I could visualize what that looked like. Uh, my next two deal with monuments and like historical landmarks, I guess, in Sioux Falls. So the first one, I'm trying to pull up the what the story is of what happened there. So mine is the Pioneer Memorial, which
Mm-hmm.
is the the historical landmark that's on Cliff Avenue in Sioux Falls, on North Cliff, way up on the hill, kind of overlooking the rest of the city, out kind of by the prison area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, so I think what
The
happened
place that
was,
gets graffitied all the time.
yeah, and people go out there all the time. Me and Kayla have been out there a couple times, and nothing happened those times. But one time I was out there with our then roommate Mike, and
Mm-hmm.
this was probably 10 years ago now at this point. And here's the story of what happened at this historical mark. Near this place on August 25th, 1862, the Sioux uprising was a result of unjust government treatment that claimed many Indian and non-Indian lives. Two of its victims, Judge Joseph B. Amandon and his son William, were killed while making hay on their claim, which was a mile north of their cabin in Sioux Falls. So a father and son had died near this historical landmark in the settlers' time. I believe Local Lou did a podcast episode on this. So if you want to
Yeah.
hear more about this, check out Local Lou's Pioneer Memorial
I was about to
Landmark.
say that sounds familiar, so I think yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use that as better historical reference for this. But
Yes.
what I've heard and why we went out there in the first place was that it's haunted and has supernatural occurrences at it. And one of the things that people would see, and I didn't know this till afterwards, was people would see like orbs around the top of the monument. So
Mm.
sure enough, that's what we saw at the time. There was the monument looks like the Washington Monument is probably the closest thing I can compare it to. Much much smaller than Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's probably, I don't know, 20, 25 feet tall.
It's
And
like
at the
the
top,
little Vegas replicas.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We get the replicas of that and the Statue of David in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
So at the top, at the point, there was like an orb, and it like came out of the tip and like moved into the sky and just disappeared. So like it wasn't like a light from the city. It wasn't an airplane flying overhead. It was just like this perfectly round, glowing orb that just came right out of the top and like whisked away. And it was the weirdest thing. It's the only time I've ever seen an orb at all or anything manifesting itself. Again, I didn't see the black shadow that was in our house that ran into my room. I didn't see that.
Right.
I've never seen anything else before or since. That was kind of the only like traditional thing you hear about was glowing orbs, and that's the only thing I've ever seen. It was at the Pioneer Memorial. And again, that's something other people have said they have seen there as well.
Yeah. You know, I'm not skeptic that it's a ghost, but I also think like, what if it's aliens? What if that's like a beacon for aliens?
Monuments, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, kind
Oh
of
God.
always has been. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I love that. I think ghosts,
Again,
like people who believe in ghosts but not aliens or vice versa, I'm like,
yeah, they're crazy people.
you're crazy, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the Kayla, if you're listening, text me what's the name of that? Is it Murder in America, that podcast we both listen to? I'll
Murder
wait for
in
Murder in
America.
America. But the guy who does that, it was originally from Sioux Falls, and he at one point shot like supernatural footage from all over Sioux Falls when he lived here.
Oh shit.
And that was one
Okay.
of the places he visited. I'm trying to remember Colin Brown, I believe is the guy's name. I'll wait for Kayla to respond to it and tell me if that's the guy's name. I think that's what it is. Anyway, I'll go to my next story because he also covered this location. She probably just responded right now.
Yep. Murder in America.
Yeah, Murder in America. Yeah. So Colin Brown. He was originally from Sioux Falls. And he did another place he visited was Gitche Manitou, which is just outside of Sioux Falls. It's like a 10-mile drive.
Yep.
Very, very infamous place in Sioux
Mhm.
Falls, especially people who are interested in true crime, supernatural,
Yeah.
stuff like that. The Gitche Girl, it was a big local book that was written by one of the only survivor of
The massacre there.
the massacre that happened there. So Gitche Manitou, it's on the Iowa side of the border. That's how close, give perspective, South Dakota is to Iowa.
Yeah.
It's literally, like I said, a 10-mile drive to get there, and it's on the Iowa side of the river.
Yep.
Anyway, it was a Native American like gathering place, Gitche Manitou. And so, I mean, this has hundreds of years of stuff happening there.
Spiritual, like because it was a place of like spiritual importance too, is the thing. And yeah,
I think Gitche Manitou, like that name stands for something.
It does. I'm pretty sure.
And you've been out there before.
Oh yeah, I've actually spent quite a bit of time out there for reasons we won't go into. But yeah.
You know the Gitche Girl story quite well. We'll just
yes,
say that.
I do, and it's that place is there is a there's a shift in the air when you get there.
Yes, and that's my story. So Gitche Manitou translates from the Algonquin language to Great Spirit.
Yep.
So a very spiritual place. And right now it's just a national, or not a national, like a
it's preserved park. Land. Yeah.
Yeah, a natural preserve.
Yep.
And one time we went out there, it was me, Kayla, and Dakota. And we had heard all about Gitche Manitou, the Gitche Girl. We knew the entire history of it. We knew about it, and there's actual footage too. So if people want to look this up, there's footage of like someone capturing something out there. And I probably from like 10, 15 years ago, if not a little longer.
Yeah. And there's something out there.
There's something out there. And so we were walking out there, and Kayla can attest to this because we talked about it still to this day of I just started feeling sick. Started very sick, like almost paranoid. Like, you know how you get like a pit in your stomach?
Yep.
And you just don't feel good. That's how I felt out there. And I kept like looking around as we were walking out there. I'm like, gosh, I feel like we're being watched. And that's all I kept thinking was, we're being watched right now. And there really wasn't anyone out there at that time. And not like someone would just be standing out there watching us walk anyway. But that's the constant feeling I had was, we're being watched right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was negative or positive. It was just being the feeling of being watched and not feeling good about it. So probably negative, probably not something very good. And the funny thing is, as soon, like I told Kayla and Dakota, I'm like, I don't feel good. I feel like we're being watched. This is weird. I don't feel right that we're out here. And as soon as we left, I felt fine. Felt perfectly fine, back to normal. No like sense of like paranoia or being watched or anything like that. Just felt perfectly normal. And it was like, as soon as we left and started driving away, I felt fine.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest thing. I don't think we've gone back out there since. No. But yeah, it was not a good feeling. It was not a fun feeling being out there.
It's a little bit of a hike to get out there too. And like, you cross the tree line essentially. And it's just like the air gets heavier. and there's just an unease about, like, it's never warm. Like, and okay, granted, I was out there in the fall time. We were there in the like afternoons to late evenings for about a week, but like, man, like there was just a vibe. There was just a vibe to it that just, yeah. I don't know if I'll ever go back out to that place
Yeah.
again. Yeah,
No, we
yeah.
should go out there. We should go out there together.
During the day.
Well, yeah, I think you're not supposed to go out there at night.
Yeah, well, yeah, we had like special permissions or whatever,
Yeah.
but we don't need
Yeah,
to get into that.
I believe. Yeah, we were out there during the middle of the day.
Yeah,
So
it's terrifying even in the daylight. And
yeah, I don't know if I can do night actually.
oh, once night falls, like I was never alone when I was out
Mhm.
there. Like at night, I was like, nope. I didn't even. If I had to pee, I'd ask someone to go out into the bushes with me. Like I was like, nope. This is a buddy system area.
And here's the thing with this place, and it's again why, I mean, there's just an uneasy feeling when you go out there. It might not just be because of the Gitchy girl story, because that was in the 70s when that
Yep.
happened. And the story of that is there was this high school group. It was really 4 guys and a girl, and they were out there just hanging out, having a bonfire. And these 3 brothers from Iowa, I think,
Yeah.
smelled their weed that the kids were smoking out there, and were like, hey, we're gonna go take it from them, believing that you can shoot someone if they're smoking pot, and you can just take it for some weird sick twisted way of thinking. And they did that. They killed the 4 boys out there, and then took the girl, and again has a great ending to that story, real life story, where she finds them. The girl finds these guys, and they end up, going to prison forever.
Yeah, it's a pretty it's a great like real life story.
Yes.
The book is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
And even in the book, they mention a little bit about Gitchy Manitou itself, and like a little bit of the history. It's mostly about their story, but like there's, I mean, there's something else out there.
Oh yeah.
And it's not just because of that tragedy. There's hundreds of years, thousands of years of stuff that has happened there, and you can feel that when you're out there. It's not many places like that, especially around here, where it's like, I don't know, you just get that uneasy feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last story, for both of us.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so this happened 2 years ago. I think so.
3 years. This was 2020, I think.
Oh, was it? Holy crap. Okay, so 3 years ago, we went to a movie premiere at the Orpheum Theater, and we went with like our whole movie group. Like we had Corey, we had Blake, we had Derek, we had Brian. Like the whole crew was there. We met up for drinks before we walked over to the Orpheum. And the bottom was already filling up. So we decided, well, what the hell? Let's go up and sit in the balcony. And there weren't many people up in the balcony. There was no one sitting behind us. We were like in the back. We weren't in the back row, but like we were the last row of people. Like
we were like 4 or 5 rows up from.
Yep. We were behind everybody else. Yeah. Nobody behind us. Nobody even like down the row behind us. Like nothing. No one for at least 20 to 30 seats all around us. And we're all just like hanging out before the thing. We're talking, like we're all sitting in our seats and we're taking selfies and having fun. And all of a sudden I feel a kick in my seat. I was like, the fuck? And I turned around like expecting like someone else had slipped in and like saw us and was like, oh, hey, and I turned around, there's just no one there. And I tell all you guys. And most of you laughed at me.
Yeah, so I'm sitting right, like literally on your right side. You're on the left side. You're right, like you're against the stairs.
Yeah, like I was on the end seat.
At the end of the row. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, it kicked my chair, like something
Mhm.
kicked my chair. And I said, I mentioned something, and like people were like, "Oh yeah, okay," like, and I was like, "No, guys, like something actually like something," and like, but I was like, "Whatever." We keep talking, and all of a sudden I feel like a on the back of my neck, and I was like, "The like," and I'm thinking, someone brought a little kid or something, and like they're messing with me, and I looked back, and there's no one. I looked behind the chair, nothing. That was when I started to get a little freaked out. I got a little more like, no, you guys got to fucking listen to me. Like there is something like right here. And I think it was like the third time. Was it the third time that you felt it too?
So
Because there was one time that it hit so hard that you were like, wait a minute, I felt that too.
there was a kick the first time. I didn't feel that because it was your chair.
Hmm.
There was the blowing that you
Hmm.
heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't like I felt it. It was like a whisper behind me.
And
Yeah.
then like almost right after that, because you said something like, "There's something here,"
Yeah.
and then almost right after that, between us, there was just this cool breeze. It
Yeah.
felt like that came right between our heads,
Yep.
and we
And
both.
there's
I remember we both looked at each other, and I was like, It got really cold. I felt that,
yep. And no, like
and no
there
one
wasn't
else
a
did.
door, there wasn't like anything that would have created a draft, like nothing. And people still don't believe you and I.
No, they don't. And no one else felt it. No one else. I mean,
No.
because it was you, me. It was you, me, and then Corey was sitting next to me,
Yep.
and then the other Brian, Derek, and Blake were right in front of us, pretty much
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
row ahead of us.
Yep.
No one, yeah, no one else felt anything. Yeah, I felt, and it was just a cold for like that 4 or 5 seconds or whatever, and then it was
Yeah.
fine, back to normal, like something blowing or wisping by us or something like that.
Hmm. And I like, and that place is known for being like, there are stories of, I think they call their ghost like Harold or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And they
something like that.
say he walks around in the balcony. Like if you're there late at night and you look up into the balcony,
Yeah,
you can see Harold. And like Harold is a rude motherfucker who kicks people's seats and whispers in their ear behind them.
yeah.
And, and I told him, stop it. And then
You're
he kind
blocking
of
his
did.
view.
Yeah, I guess I was sitting in front of Harold's seat, I guess.
Mhm.
But he was a gentleman once the movie started. There was
Yeah,
nothing after that.
he was there to watch the movie,
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad ghost story. It was a minor couple of annoyances before the movie started, and then he was fine.
Mhm.
But it was maybe the most solid, like for me
Direct.
personal, like yeah, like I was like I there was contact with something.
Mhm.
Like worlds collided. And I can't explain like like I don't know. Can you even explain the feeling when you like realize like holy shit. Like I feel like I actually touched something intangible.
Yeah, it's weird because most people would explain it away as like, oh, the air conditioning or whatever was turning on. This was like the wind. We went in the
Yeah.
winter because I remember it was really cold outside when we were
Yeah.
walking. So it was the winter. It wasn't the air conditioning turning
No.
on. Even if it was, it would be a constant
Yeah.
cold,
And it wasn't.
and it was just like something blew or walked past us. Like I'm
Hmm.
waving my hand right now, and I can feel
Yep.
a little breeze. It was like that, but like super cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And yeah, the Orpheum is again one of those places in Sioux Falls that is known to have something there. They used to, I don't think they do it anymore. They used to do like ghost
Haunted
tours.
tours,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And you could go there like kind of locked in for a couple hours and walk around, and they'll tell you the history of it and who Harold or whatever his name is, what
Yeah.
what his deal is and stuff like that. But
I
yeah,
have
there's
I have a
there's
book
something
about
there.
haunted places in South Dakota that I think actually does have the name of the
Has that, yeah.
ghost. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. It's oh man.
Hmm.
I'm just I'm glad that someone else experienced because like the first two times were so frustrating. I'm like, no, there's something happening. Like
Mhm.
Someone has to believe me. And the ghost was nice enough to be like, fine, I'll touch Casey too. And we
We're
were
gonna
both
make sure you're not a lunatic. We're gonna have Casey feel it too.
so now we're just both lunatics.
Yeah, as we're
But
telling scary ghost stories on our
on our
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah,
This was a fun episode though, dude. Well,
yeah. What's
flung my
yeah?
cord.
That's. I mean, so that was the last thing that happened for me was our
Yeah.
little encounter. Again, that was like a probably over 3 years ago now. At
Yeah.
this point,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie, I'm good never having another ghostly encounter for the rest of my life.
I'm
They just
I'm
scare me
kind of
too much.
I'm kind of missing it. I'm ready for another one. I need another
Yeah.
story to add to this.
I'm good. I'm on a like ghosts. I already kind of know you. I've touched one of you. I feel like that's the most that we can do without really scaring the living
Yeah,
piss out of me. So let's
I'm
just
okay with it as long as it's.
coexist.
It just doesn't need to be in my house. That's
Yeah.
that's all I'm asking. Not in the house, out in public, out at Pizza Ranch or out at the Orpheum Theater. Sure, I
Yeah.
don't care. You're staying there. You're not coming home with me. You're
Yeah.
staying there, ghost.
I'll
Don't
go
come to my
visit
house.
Harold at the Orpheum all
Yeah,
the time. But if Harold starts visiting me, then we have a problem.
no, he's
then
not
we're
invited.
then we're
He's not
breaking out the
welcome.
sage.
Yeah, and he's just going to disappear forever. Then, so Harold, stay where you are.
Yes.
All you
Yeah.
other Harold-like people, spirits, whatever you are, stay. Just hang out in your own place. Let people come to you. You're the attraction there.
I'm like Russell Crowe in The Pope's Exorcist. I'm just using burning sage like most cops use,
Hmm. Harold,
nightsticks.
and if Harold has a problem, he can talk to your boss,
Yeah, the Pope.
the Pope. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We're about at that 2 hour mark. Hopefully,
Yeah.
everyone enjoyed our. I mean, we told scary ghost stories for about an hour
It was a little over an
plus
hour, I think. Yeah.
of this podcast. So I hope
And I
everyone
think the
got.
best one was Blake's.
Yeah, Blake had easily the best story. I think it was
So
the most
thanks.
vivid,
Yeah.
the most realistic,
The
the
most
one that I feel
unsettling.
the most
Yeah.
unsettling. Like that ghost was manifesting itself.
Yeah. I mean, it killed a person.
Killed a person who stole his glasses.
Stole his glasses. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Blake, I'm so glad that you and your sister survived that encounter.
Hmm.
And I hope the thing from another planet was worth you ignoring your sister's trauma over.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, we're gonna hear
Blake
so much.
has no idea.
We're gonna hear so much guff come Friday when Blake
Oh, God.
finally listens to this.
Yep. When he finally listens.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. I'm gonna take off this little ghost stories thing. Sam, what
Yeah.
else do we got going on here at Screams from the Basement? Where can people find us online, and where can they subscribe to this podcast if they already don't? They should.
Yeah.
They should do it.
Well, if you like this and you want to subscribe and support the show, and we'd very much appreciate it, you can get us pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, specifically on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, and there you get the video show where you actually get to see us and how scared I was during some of Casey's early stories, especially. And maybe you can imagine like me, the like penguin lady popping up behind my shoulder and scaring yourself while you're telling your own story.
Mhm.
YouTube's a wonderful place to check us out. But if you want more of us on social media, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I can confidently say on this show, we are now on TikTok. We've got
We're on it.
content on TikTok. We're doing the cool kids thing. So yeah, if you want to watch our dumb faces like rank characters and movies and stuff like that on TikTok,
Mhm.
we're there.
We're there.
Yeah. We've got a couple of really cool interviews coming up. We've got a Creature with Stirring interview with Damien Levesque. We have Danny Draven talking Bad CGI Gator. We just had Alan Maxon talking Alien Planet. We're having a ton of fun with these interviews. So if you like them, let us know. We're planning on doing as many of these as we possibly can, filling out our non-main show weeks with interviews. So Also, if you're an indie filmmaker and you've got a movie coming out, hit
Mhm.
us up. We'll talk about it.
Or if
So,
you have if you have
yeah.
anything you want to come on horror related
Yeah.
to promote, whether it's maybe a
Yeah.
book or a
Yeah.
comic book or a poem, a horror poem, horror
Ooh,
video
yeah.
game, yeah,
Yeah.
anything
Anything.
like that, we're trying to go every week we're gonna have an episode, and every other episode will be an interview. So that's kind of our goal for 2024. I mean, we started it now here in December is kind of our first month of on that
Yeah.
schedule,
But I think
but we're planning on 2024 doing that every single week, just because we're having a ton of fun doing it.
we're just having fun with it. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I know, like, I know we've talked about this, but it's so much fun picking a creative person's brain about something they've created,
Mhm.
because you learn so much about the person and the project, and it almost always makes whatever they made even more interesting in
Yes.
hindsight. Like, I love it. So I
Mhm.
yeah, highly recommend our interviews. I think we're killing it, if I do say so myself. Gonna toot our own horns here a little bit. Um, toot toot. Um,
Like
so
my
yeah,
favorite Ned's Declassified character, we're gonna toot our own horn.
hell yeah,
Next time you're gonna hear just me and Sam on the show, we're doing our Christmas episode. We're talking Christmas, Bloody Christmas, and Christmas
yeah,
Evil. Christmas double feature coming up. That's in 2 weeks. I think that'll come out right before Christmas. So you're gonna get your Christmas. You're gonna get in the Christmas spirit with them.
yeah. First you got ghost stories, and now you've got Santa slashers.
Getting some Santa slang going on, but not the Bill Goldberg kind.
Oof, no, not that
No.
kind.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. I think we got
All
all of
right.
our plugs. People know where to find us. Sam, give us that sign off.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.